Hello everyone and welcome to episode 4 of The Casters Lounge here on twitch.tv/ESN_GD. Great start. Shout out to everyone who's watching on YouTube as well, watching that VOD, which will of course be up on the YouTube, so make sure to check that out. And if you haven't noticed by now, I'm not Stromis. I know, it's rather disappointing. You've got a Brummie instead of a Swedish guy giving you the hosting, and while he's not feeling well, make sure to send him some messages. I'm going to do my best to fill in for him. And taking up his spot is going to be ESN_MSC on Twitter. It's Matt, our lovely owner. How you doing?
Decent, not bad.
Happy to make your debut on the podcast?
I mean, I'm not gonna lie, I probably would have, no offense to you guys, but I probably would have preferred it with Stromas. But not in a bad way. Only because I would have ribbed into him.
That's true. There are certain things that you like to say to Stromis to wind him up that we're not going to be mentioning on this podcast that you will be able to bring up were he here. Anyway, and joining me as usual, well, not as usual, joining me is sort of my partner in crime when it comes to ESN as well. It's Amp Julio, the mighty man himself. How you doing today?
I'm pretty good, thanks. Looking forward to hopefully a fun podcast with you guys. Should be great.
Hopefully a fun podcast. And then closing out the ranks today is our local Finnish Valorant pro himself, Nexus. How you feeling, mate?
I'm doing well. I'm about ready to go pro.
What was the score of your Valorant game that you just played before coming live?
Well, it was a close one. I'm not gonna lie, but we did manage to win it out in the end, about 13-10.
Oh, that'll do. That's a very, very decent result considering Valorant, but we don't talk about that game on this podcast because we are all about the CSGO. And some of the CSGO that we've been seeing from our league recently has been round 4, and just thought we'd bring that up. I wouldn't say it was the greatest round. Some of the games were a bit underwhelming overall, but there were a couple of good games in there, not really too many upsets. I mean, what did you guys make of the Lions Creed 2-1 Eversia? Obviously, Lions Creed now referred to as Revenge, which is their new org. But what did you make of their win against Eversia?
Who wants to go first?
Who wants to go first? And I'll let you take that because I'm going to give you the short end of the stick.
Oh, that's great. I don't know what's going on at this current moment. I don't think anyone else really does either. Considering it's just not even a weird triangle of who's beating who. It's just random people.
Yeah,
random
the games are all fading together, aren't they? It's hard to. I don't think the games are that good, but I mean, I think it's a good win for Revenge, though, isn't it? Over Eversia, who've shown themselves. Even though there's only 2 of the ex-Luxor team that got to the final last year, there's still elements of quality in that team. There's still, I believe, it's still a playoff quality team, Eversia. So even though it was a 2-1, it wasn't a 2-0. I'd still say it's quite a solid win. Matt, would you say that that's not? Would you say that's expected? Would you say that Eversia underperformed?
I mean, I'm just trying to get the scoreboard up because I seem to remember there being an interesting map 1 was complete dominance from Revenge. I think it was 16-5. So they didn't really struggle in that aspect. But then second map was Nuke, which, I mean, Nuke speaks for itself for this season. For some reason,
Nuke's been crazy the amount of teams that play it this season. Like at the top, like Budapest 5 amongst the teams, I think Famous 5 play it again. All the teams at the top either have picked Nuke or play Nuke, and that's going to create a really interesting dynamic going into the playoffs, isn't it?
Yeah, so Aversio picked Nuke, won 16-12. And then it went on to final map 16-11 where Revenge took it.
Yeah.
I can't really remember that map, not gonna lie. I remember the Nuke and the Vertigo because they seem to be the 2 best maps at this minute this season.
Vertigo's always the best map.
Yeah.
That's a debatable opinion. Just gonna put that out there. Overpass gang taking over. Overpass is the one. I'm telling you. Overpass.
It's over. No, it's Vertigo, Nuke, Overpass in that order.
Oh, I'm not agreeing with you there. I mean,
okay.
And Vertigo's bottom.
Let's not have this debate. This is going to take forever.
We're going to have a 2-hour long podcast where I sit here and slander Vertigo. All right, but we're not going to do that. But I'm going to let you talk, Nexus, because I know you've casted a few SEER games this season and you casted their game against Lucifer. Was it a good win for them? How did that turn out? Because they're going to be one who wants to try and elevate their game going into the playoffs.
I mean, I'm not gonna lie, it was really sloppy from them in the first 1 or 2 maps, but on Inferno they were looking way better. Like they were looking like an actual team that could have a chance of winning or should like be where they're supposed to be.
Yeah, I mean that's good, and I think that's what they were going to need because they've had some shaky moments this year, and they've got the players in their squad to do better. So, do you think that they can bring that out in playoffs? Have you seen enough of them over this season? Are they kind of a decent playoff run?
I think there's a chance they can make the playoffs. It's just who they face, but I don't think they're going to be as good as I originally hyped them up to be. There's definitely a chance they could make it, but it depends on the draw and if they're going to perform like they did on the last map of the game against Lucifer. Like, if they're going to keep that up, I can see them making top 8.
Well, I mean, as you say, it comes into those round 5 games, and it's those round 5 games that we're going to move on to now because we have got the draw here. Don't know how public it is, but I'm just going to read it out. So for Group 1, round 5 is obviously all the 2-2 games deciders. One goes out, one goes through. First game is Phantoms Ignite versus Mouse Plays, Glued versus Scape, and Slick versus Havoc. And then for Group 2, we've got Equinox versus Sia, Shazoo versus Wonder, and then Requiem versus Versio. What'd you make of those games, guys? Any bangers that stand out to you there, Matt?
I think Stromus is going to hate me for saying this.
Oh, no.
I think Phantoms Ignite versus Mouse Plays could be an interesting match because...
I said that before while we were preparing for the show. I said that could be all right, I think.
Yeah, I mean, Phantoms Ignite, they're playing a new roster, except Rogi, and they're playing against the Mouse Plays who didn't do too bad at, was it Epic Lang before the whole lockdown happened?
I think it might have been.
I can't remember. So, and I mean, Mouse Plays, they didn't do too bad against Wasps. I believe it was Wasps. They played in round 4.
Didn't Wasps beat them to go through to playoff?
Yeah, so Wasps won.
Yeah, but they didn't. Well, Wasps are a decent team, so it's like they didn't put up a bad showing against Wasps. Is what?
I mean, Wasps have picked up a solid roster this season.
But we've seen it from them before when they've changed their. Would you say that they maybe have like a better chance this season again? Because didn't they win it season 2?
No.
Season 2, they got through to semi-finals where they lost the
semi-finals. Right, but haven't they won one of the seasons though?
No.
No, my bad. Great.
But
they've had some rosters that Ice Shield, yeah. They've had some rosters that have done well. They've had some rosters that haven't really worked out. Do you think they're onto a winner with this roster? Then do you rate the new look Wasps roster?
I rate the new one, yeah. Winning. I mean, asked me that a few weeks ago, I would have said no because Budapest 5 would have won it. But now, I don't know.
And that's the thing, that everything's changed on its head, and we'll get onto that later. But again, and I mean, Glued versus Scape, the Portuguese derby. Is that not something that interests you? We're gonna have a Portuguese team in playoffs, at least one. You know.
At least one guarantee. Well, we already have a skill. Schematics went out, didn't they?
Yeah, there's also Schematics.
We
might have one already. Yeah.
We don't talk about that.
Didn't they?
Is it time?
What's the bloody
Geek Case? Yeah, they were the
Geek Case. That's it. Yeah,
strong team. Was he 3?
Yeah, they look decent, but you know they're not going to be alone. Then Glued versus Scape. That's going to be an interesting derby. Whoever casts that should get a lot of viewers if we get the Portuguese people in, because we know they get passionate for their CS, don't they?
Unless there's a Portuguese stream, because I don't think anyone speaks Portuguese.
Unless there's unless we're getting exposed, but who knows what's happening this week? Anyway, not gonna mention that. I'm gonna refer to the Sia expert once again. Nexus. How do you reckon they'll get on in the game against Equinox?
I'm not gonna lie. I think that's gonna be a really tough game for them. It's going to go all 3 maps if they have a chance of winning it, or if they think they're going to win it.
I think that has the potential to be one of the best games out of the lot. Actually, I think it's 2 good teams who are going to be up for it. 2 good teams. It's going to be a tough game for Sia, as you say, but they're not going to. I don't think they're going to roll over and just admit defeat. They're a good team here, and they'll give Equinox a good fight here. So I think it's got a potential to be a good game. And I know Phantoms Ignite versus Mouse Plays is a thing. I think the Equinox C is going to be better. I mean, what kind of what predictions are we looking at then? So Phantoms Ignite versus Mouse Plays. Who we all picking? I'm going to go with Phantoms Ignite.
I'm going to second that as well. I feel like they're going to be able to bring it back, even though the roster kind of new. I think they're going to be more stable than Mouseplace overall.
Yeah, I just think they're a more solid team, and I think they'll just get the win where they deserve it. Matt, Ant, what do you think?
Go ahead.
I'd say Mouseplace. Mouseplace, they've been together longer. They've looked more promising. Phantoms Ignite, as they did obviously beat Famous Five somehow on Vertigo in 3 overtimes. Which is fine.
Laced with venom there.
This is different roster, and I just think Mouseplace just should take it. It should be more cohesive, and that's at the end of the day. If they're roughly similar skill levels, it's all about the cohesion and the how a team works together, about their chemistry. So I think they should take it.
But the thing is, we've seen teams that we haven't heard much about here come in and do well. This is like Geek Case, who you've mentioned, who have come in and just really shown a new level of play. So that's what I think. That's another factor playing in Phantoms Ignite favour. They have that unknown factor, whereas most players have been around for as long as I can remember personally. And that's not a slight on them because they're a good team, but I just think that Phantoms Ignite is a bit fresher and a bit more. There's an air of mystery and an air of unknown factor and quantity about them that most players just don't have. But if we're going to move on now to in fact, no, we haven't asked Matt. Christ, I'm not good at this hosting thing. I'm sorry, I'm not. I'm just trying this. All right, Twitch chat. I'm not going to look at you because I'm probably getting abused. Please allow me, Matt. Anyway, Phantoms Ignite on Mouse. Who you got?
All right, I'll be quick just to save Dom the embarrassment. Phantoms Ignite. I would say if you asked me before. You should. Before Phantoms Ignite played XTC, I would have said Mouseplace maybe win it because Phantoms Ignite are 4 new players. I don't know if they've ever played together before or not. I mean, from what a lot of people were saying to me, that Phantoms Ignite, their players that they picked up were actually quite good. So, I think against XTC, that showed that. They played XTC, who are 2nd seed in Group 1, and they took a map off them.
Solid,
a new roster took a map off them.
Relatively speaking, it's a solid performance, and as you say, they've got some good players in their Phantoms Ignite, and most players haven't really had those top placings that they'd want really over the last. I think last season they didn't make it to playoffs. I mean, most players need to sort of get into playoffs again. They need to elevate their play a bit, and I just think Phantoms Ignite, as you said, they've got some quality players. They've got the unknown factor that I talked about. So that's 3 of us going for Phantoms Ignite, and going for Mouse plays. He might be vindicated, but he might be alone. It's these kind of things where we need Strom is though. He'd be able to say, well, these 4 players have played together 5 ESCA seasons ago for this team in Maine, and they got an average of 16 kills per map and 137.2 ADR.
He would, yeah, he really would.
Yeah, but you know what I mean. He'd just come out with some kind of obscure facts, which you've got to respect. Which is very knowledgeable.
Yeah, Strom was in chat saying he would. He definitely would.
He would. Yeah, I know you would.
He knows he's doing it.
He knows he would. The only thing that he knows in more detail than that is how to do a host role better than me. Jesus Christ. A lot is hard. Please give him some props because this is difficult. Anyway, on to the final match of Group 1, Slick versus Havoc. I'm going to go gut because I'm a big believer in going with gut feeling, and I think Slick have had a couple of wins this season. I'm going to go with Slick. Slick is the name that just comes to my head. And I'm going to ask Ant, because he was the unpopular opinion last time around. Are you going to side with me this time? Are you going to pick Slick against Havoc?
I mean, I haven't really watched Glued too much, but I'm just going off, how Slick would up against B-Pro, they were alright. So I'll agree with you on that. I don't really have too much of I don't have a strong opinion on this matchup, so.
Yeah, again, it's hard. It's hard to talk about these in too much detail, so we're gonna have to gloss through them because they're not that interesting of games. If I'm being blunt. Nexus, Slick, Havoc, what you got?
I won't lie, I haven't seen either of these teams play, but I do feel like Slick would be the better pick.
Yeah, just going off of paper, results and things like that. They're the more logical choice. So I guess you'd go for Slick.
I've been busy casting other games, but sadly neither of these. Yeah. See a lot and more Regnant than Strummers as well. So
is that even a team anymore? Anyway, you didn't hear that. Anyway, Matt, what do you think about this game?
So Slick took me by surprise in round 1 B Pro. What was they like 9-0 up or something?
Yeah. They had a very strong start.
They had a very strong start, and I was like, okay, this is going to be an underdog team.
Yeah.
And then I'm not quite sure what happened, but Cortex and Swez both left the roster, and that was just their now core ripped up. Hume is a good player. Big Shot as well. I believe he's left as well. Their captain. So He left a few weeks after. So I mean, now they're just 5 players that don't really like have much chemistry yet. But Team Havoc, I mean, I watch most of all the games that are streamed. I watch some of them through GeoTVs if they're not. I haven't seen much Team Havoc, but they did do pretty well against XTC, I believe,
Right.
in their round 2 game. So I'm gonna go for an upset and say Team Havoc take it third map.
You're convincing me there because I mean a roster in turmoil is something you never want to see. And if they've lost their captain and the heart of their team in the space of like a month, and they're going into against this game with Havoc, who have taken on XDC quite strongly, and this isn't actually this isn't the same Slick that have done so well against BPro at the start of that one game there. So maybe I think it's going to be a tight game. I'm going to go with my gut and go with Slick, but you made a good case for Havoc there. I'm feeling that me, Anton, next is about to get embarrassed in the next week's podcast for picking wrong, while Matt just goes with pure logic. But Group 2, Equinox versus Saya. Matt, we'll start with you. Go back straight to you, to your
Equinox.
expert insight.
Equinox. I watched Saya versus Lucifer. I don't mean to rip in Saya because I see speed in her now. But
Whoops.
I was completely disappointed with Saya. I mean,
Oh right.
there was a lot that I don't know if it was just a bad day for them. I don't know. Hopefully they can work on it over in the week. But yeah, I just think they struggled against Lucifer, and I think Equinox they also struggled against their round 4 map, but that was against Team Red Bloods, who X Genetics, who everyone knows
Yeah.
is a good roster. And I think watching back, Equinox won the Portuguese qualifier, and they looked absolutely solid. They
Yeah.
beat Geek Case, who went 3-0. So
That's
I think it's
true.
going to be interesting. I mean, Saya, it's just sod's law that Saya come out shooting and take a map or two. But yeah, I think like you
Yeah.
mentioned earlier, if Saya win it, it will go to a third map.
Yeah, as I say, it sounds to me like if Sale win, it's going to have to be a proper dogfight because Equinox beating Geek Case, they've got a good record against these other teams. That even though they haven't had the greatest time in group stage, going into 2-2s, they're probably not going to be very happy about. The fact that they've beaten Geek Case in the qualifier must stand for something. They've been great this season, Geek Case. So, I'm inclined to agree with you, but I'm always skeptical to say anything negative about Sale because that. I don't know, but moving swiftly onwards, and Equinox versus Saya.
I'm always a Sia fan. I always hope for them because Alex, he's just a mad lad and sometimes turns up despite what Vision will say. It's going to be, as Nex said, it's going to be a very hard match because Equinox have put up some good results. But I think it was Inferno. They struggled against Team Scoundrels, which are now Wonder, who aren't the strongest team. So I want to go. I want to go with Sia. I want to believe. So despite what
Alan believes in the magic, or he's just doing a Dan challenge, just believing in his mates. But you pick. You pick.
My mates don't even know them. I'm just a fan.
No, you're not as bad as Dan, and Stromis was with Regnant. Anyway, Nexus. What do you think about this game? Because obviously you're our resident Sia expert. Saya.
Well, I gave my 2 cents about it a bit earlier. Like you said, I did say that if Saya were to win it, it would go to a third map. I think there's going to be a slight struggle, but that depends if they're going to be able to work on what they did miss in the first match or the match they played against Lucifer. But Inferno, they were looking great. If they can keep that up, I think they can win it.
Yeah, it's not something that you want to rule them out of because, as you say, I think Ant just mentioned that the opponents, what are they called? I've just forgotten already. This is my memory. Equinox. They had a bad performance on Inferno against Wonder, whereas you just mentioned Saya had a good performance on Inferno against another team. So if Inferno gets into the map pool, that'll definitely help Saya. That'll be something that they can exploit, something that I'm guaranteeing that the IGL of the team is already looking at, something that they're going to be planning to do. So if they can get Inferno in there and activate a high level of play, then Saya can certainly win it. But on paper, you'd go for Equinox every day. But I think this is the best of the round 5 games, Equinox Saya, because you've got a team Equinox who amazing in the qualifier, not as good in the league, but still got so much quality. Saya who have that Inferno that they can use and to exploit against his team, and Saya who have just got some quality players and got inconsistent, sometimes underwhelming, but have always got that potential. And if they tap into that, then I think that could make for a really good series. But outside of round 4, round 5, and season 6 as a whole, we've had the Lockdown Cup, which we've alluded to throughout the podcast. 6 independent cups before a final. think it was 16 teams went into a playoff bracket, and then came out with Famous Five getting the victory. And it was an amazing thing to do while we're all stuck inside, adhering government advice and things like that. Just something to do for all these CS teams, and it worked out quite well. And I think one of the main arcs and storylines that we've seen come out of this, and some of the commonalities, has been redemption. We've seen teams that before haven't had their best times go into a lockdown cup and just really improve and show a different level of play. And the first one I'm going to pick out is Revenge, because obviously I think it was last season in ESC, so up, and then they finished 10-6. They went after that. It's not really as good as you'd want. Last season they weren't as great as they have in the past, but they've won 2 of the 6 lockdown cups. And under the, it's obviously the Lions Creed roster under this new org, Revenge, which are quite a big UK org under my understanding. Are we starting to see a revival in the team? And do you think that Lions Creed, or Revenge as they're now known, are starting to build themselves a stronger foundation they can use in future seasons?
Yeah. Obviously they lost, parted ways with Kriths.
Yeah.
And they've got the new pickup who I cannot remember for the life of me right now.
Ellis.
But yeah, exactly. And they've had some pretty good results in the Lockdown Cup. Obviously a bit mix and match and stuff, but they're getting form. So, and that's it's always, even in the first Lockdown Cup, they were pretty. They beat Buzzkill and Socially and Project Diversity in the final, I think it was. So that's a lot pretty strong teams that they've come straight through. So they're definitely they're looking strong, looking better.
Yeah, they're looking like a strong team, but do you really see, Matt, like they've won the Lockdown Cup, but how much is that comparable to succeeding in a league format, like let's say season 7? In a bit of, when we do have season 7, can you really see them if they keep up this form? I mean, will they be able to actually finally, for some of the fans of the team who have been waiting for many seasons for them to succeed, will they finally become part of that playoff conversation and that success conversation again in the tournament?
So, Revenge, they're a hard one to call at the minute. I mean, like we said, they've had a roster change, so we've still got to give them that time to adapt. But I mean, LS has come in and look straight at home.
Yeah.
So I mean, Cruyff was a great player, but at the minute I don't feel like they're missing him as much as I was expecting. Yeah. And I mean, it was good to see Revenge just come straight out the blocks on that first cup and just, beat Project Diversio and beat all those teams. And
brilliant win for them, isn't it, over Reverse?
Yeah, great win. And then of course they go to the playoffs where they, breeze past Valraven, to then face Famous Five in the quarterfinals, which was an absolute banger, if I say so myself. The nuke game, I believe Revenge won.
Nuke again.
And then it went to Vertigo, and it was just if I would have been heartbroken if I was Revenge. It was that close of a game. You don't really want to see them losing.
Yeah.
But again, I feel like it's a match where Famous Five also look revived. 2 teams going against each other that are on top of their game at the minute, and they're taking them right to the last breath. I mean, that's good on Revenge's part.
Yeah, exactly. And that's the thing with Famous Five that we're just going to go on to now. That's a great segue, Matt. You've helped me there, because as part of this redemption arc, the other team that we've seen have a brilliant storyline surrounding them of just coming out of nowhere or coming out of the shadows and just sort of succeeding again and leveling up. That is Famous Five, because obviously last season they did make the semi-finals, which myself and Ant casted at the live production in the semi-final. That was a brilliant cast. But B Pro made swift work of them in that game, if I'm being honest. And, they started the season underwhelmingly. They've got wins under the belt. They are through the playoffs. But they haven't looked entirely convincing while doing it. They haven't looked as good as they did last season from many perspectives. And they've not really been as good as some may have hoped. Because, you want them to improve, but they haven't really. They've regressed in a way. But they have now. They've won one of the Lockdown Cups. And they eventually won the entire Lockdown event, because obviously we put all the winners in. People who've done well into a playoff bracket, and then they played against each other. And in that Lockdown event, the overall thing, they beat Budapest 5 in the final. I mean, Nexus, how massive of a win is that? How massive of a redemption is that for them to get the win over Budapest 5?
I think it is, but in a sense, I think you guys were underestimating Famous Five from the beginning. I was thinking they were going to make it they were easily gonna make it here. And the fact that they've won the Lockdown Cup or got the revenge on B Pro, I think that's just them saying like, we're still here, don't just look over us. And basically saying fuck you to the casters who said it, they're not gonna do anything.
I've never been said no team's ever said fuck you to me. Probably have. Every single time I cast, I probably get it in chat. I just don't read chat, so it's alright. I avoid it. But no, that's the best way to avoid criticism. Just don't read it.
Just ignore the hate.
Just ignore it. Drown out the haters. What was that? What's the saying? I can't remember.
Let's not.
Let's not. Let's not try. It's like Jake Paul. I go there. Oh.
Can I just point at someone in chat?
Oh yeah, please.
Thomas just said ALX during the S4 final did say fuck that British guy.
Yeah, he did.
All three of us.
It was me. I get reminded about this meme about this whole meme of me not liking the era and Twitch chat has stemmed from me in that TriCast not a clue how to work it. Like, I will say, like, the dynamic of a TriCast is very difficult because in a 2-cast you have play-by-play and colour with a bit of flex. In Tri, it's just everywhere. Everyone's doing everything, and it's a lot harder to do. And I don't think any of us had ever done a TriCast before. But ALX. But no, I mean Nexus is the one giving me the finger now by saying that we should have been a lot more positive over Famous 5. But when you look at Budapest 5, the team that they beat in the final, I don't think any of you would be given. Like Budapest 5 have been the favourites now. I mean, me and Strommers have both said, they're going to win the whole thing. And the way that we said the whole winning the whole thing is we've got to mention this series. It is the Budapest 5 versus Genetec, now known as Red Bloods, as Matt's mentioned. Best of 3 series in the 2-0 bracket. That was a brilliant game. I mean, that was obviously 2-1 to Budapest 5, who won it out, taking Nuke, losing Train, and beating on Inferno. Loads of big plays, loads of big moments, back and forth, comeback. It was often strong starts by Genetec, which were then pegged back. Unfortunately, pegged back by Budapest 5. I mean, Ant, did you get to cast your eye over the game? What did you think about that series? Because best series in ESNL history. Just saying.
No,
You didn't. Right.
Nah.
Chat, go and tell him to watch it. Strom go and tell him to watch it. Matt, please tell me you've watched this series.
Well, of course. I mean, I
Yeah.
was sitting on Twitch watching it, and I think saying it's the best series in ESNL history is a bold statement.
Socially and
It is a
was
bold
very
statement.
good, and socially, Lupus Ignis was also a very
Yeah, I've heard that's a banger. I do. Lazy Dom will one day. But carry on.
So yeah, I mean, it was a great matchup, and BP5 came out, but Team Red Bloods were like, "Nah, we're gonna hang around with this. We're gonna try and get some, wins as well." I believe one of the maps was Train.
Yep, Train. That was the pick of Red Bloods, who won it
Red
16-11. And
Yeah,
I
and
think
I
they
mean,
start. Yeah,
That
carry
was
on.
first map as well, I believe. I
thought
think
it started on Nuke, didn't it?
could have started on
Yeah,
Nuke. Yeah,
I
could
think
be
it
started
started
on
on
you.
Nuke. Map 2 was straight.
Yeah. Okay, yeah. So I mean, we've seen Train a couple of times. Like Train used to be a map that was never picked. Like we
Yeah.
never had Train picked throughout the seasons, and now we're starting to get it with Red Bloods. And I feel like if Red Bloods could secure, if they play BP5 again and secure Train again, I think that it goes to 1-1, and then it goes to the decider on how what map there is. Because at the minute, if you're playing BP5, just ban Nuke. Don't even
Just
let
ban
Nuke
Nuke.
be there.
Don't know what
Just get
I
it
don't know what
out.
they were thinking. I mean, that's the thing. We had two teams who were the favourites to win the whole thing coming up against each other, so the storyline was there from the start. And the game played out really outstanding. As I mentioned, it would be like Genetec would start the game like 6 or 7-0 up, and you're thinking, wow. But then Budapest 5, that was on Nuke as well. They started like 5 or 6-0 up. Genetec were thinking.
Yeah, they
Strommers
did.
was hyping up Budapest 5, like, oh, they're going to be this amazing team. They're going to win the tour. All right, and let's see if they're going to do it. And they started off, and I was like, what is this? Then after that, it was like they flipped a switch. They just completely and utterly activated a whole other level of Counter-Strike that I've never seen in ESNL. It was brilliant Counter-Strike, team Counter-Strike, individual Counter-Strike, pacing, the way that they pace the T rounds, the flexibility on CT, the utility usage. Everything was just on point. Even their individual aim, brilliant. Players like Seaboy, fantastic players. Chupex, was it? He had some really good clutch moments as well throughout Chupex, yeah. Had some great clutch moments throughout the series. That was an absolute banger of a series. But what's happened since then, because they have sort of waned. I think Nexus alluded to it earlier. In the quarterfinals of the lockdown event, they dropped map to Obsession. Not really sure that that's what they want to be doing. You know, they lost to Famous Five in the final, which, while they're a good team, Famous Five, they're not to the same level that we were hyping up Budapest Five. So, what do you think's gone wrong with Budapest Five, Matt? Why is it? Why are they sort of stuttered?
I don't think it's they've done. I mean, it might be that they've just played a lot of games recently. I mean,
Yeah.
Obsession. I think Obsession was just a very good team, and I think they're on. If Obsession didn't play BP5, I would have took Obsession to go through to
Right.
the semis because Obsession just looked really good, and they were kind of like a team that no one has ever seen on our side of competitions before. So they just came in and looked great. And I mean, to get a map on BP5 shows that they're not messing around.
Yeah,
But
exactly.
after that semi-finals, BP5 played socially, won 2-0 quite easily. I mean, there wasn't
Easy
really
game,
much
innit?
competition for it. I mean, socially it looked good through the event. um, but I just think I don't know if it's people starting to figure out BP5
Maybe.
or if BP5 they've just been playing so much because they played most of the lockdown events. I'm pretty sure they're playing in another tournament. They play in our league. They might be playing another league too. So it just might be too many matches that they have to focus on.
Yeah, they might be just a bit burnt out, and I think that
Yeah.
that might not serve them well in playoffs either. Because if that fixture congestion, if that match congestion carries on into playoff brackets, then we could see them not be this dominant favourite that we have to be. And would you say that they're still the favourites, Nexus, despite this loss against Famous Five? Would you still say Budapest Five are the favourites to win the season?
I don't know if they're going to be like the favorites, but I think they're going to be like the favorites, like one of the two teams to make finals at least. Like
Yeah.
they should be.
I'd be very surprised if they don't make the finals at the very least.
Yeah.
Brilliant
I think
team.
whatever the finals is going to be, or whatever the semifinals, the games will be good, but I'm not sure if it will go all the way to BP5.
I think it depends who comes through and depends who's in form, because I think that's one of the storylines that we need to pick up out of this lockdown event as well, Ant, is that the purpose of the lockdown cup in a way is that it's given us a different perspective on teams. Like Famous Five have gone up in our power rankings, if you say, and Budapest Five have come down because they've showed differing levels of CS. The storylines have evolved, the narratives around the teams have changed, and going into round 5 and playoffs, I think there's a lot of different teams and different teams that play at different levels to be looking out for. So, besides Budapest Five and Famous Five, are there any teams that you would say might have sort of changed their stock a bit over the course of the lockdown cups?
Yeah, definitely. Famous Five. As soon as we were talking about that, I was just thinking of them. Obviously, like they were struggling against Phantom's Ignite, who got trashed by Ecstasy, I think it was. They were looking so weak; they didn't really know what they're doing, and then they come into this and beat BP5 and just. They're inconsistent, but they're definitely a team to look out for now. Like I was thinking, I'm pretty sure during the match I said to Strom is just they're not gonna get semis if anything, like last season. But now they definitely can, and they could definitely win it. So
Yeah, exactly. The way they're playing right now, if they're beating Budapest Five, they're a team that to me immediately stands out as favourites to win. I mean, Famous Five now. Matt, would you say Famous Five one of the favourites to win off the back of the result?
I think one of, yeah. Are they?
Yeah, one of.
I feel
Who else
like
is there though? Who else is there besides Famous Five and Budapest Five?
honestly,
who would you say?
B Pro have gone under the mat at the minute because Budapest 5 and Famous 5 have been playing in these lockdown cups. B Pro weren't. B Pro also qualified 3-0. So and that was at the start of round 3, not towards the end of the week. So we've not seen them play for a good week or two. So everyone's just kind of like forgetting about B Pro.
Especially with the pickup of Victor as well. They've had more time to practice with Victor because they've had that week or two off.
Yeah, I forgot about that.
Yeah, exactly. With Victor in there and all that time to practice, I think we're going to be seeing a much stronger B Pro than that we saw in group stages. I think in season 5 it was the same. They were good in group stages, but they weren't as good in playoffs. Do you think the history is going to repeat itself? Do you think that B Pro are going to be a different beast in playoffs?
A different beast, maybe not. I think they're going through more than likely first seed. But I think if they do meet BP5 or Famous 5, they might show I think it will be interesting to see who goes through. But I mean, that doesn't go to show that. I mean, Geekcase Pro, we haven't seen them against a
Yeah.
big team, but they went through 3-0. So are they going to be a contender? Because I don't feel like we've seen enough of them.
Yeah.
Having a look at the Group 2 standings, I mean, Regnant went through 3-0. More maybe on the luck side because they got a forfeit win against Project Aversio. But again, they
They would
went.
have beaten them anyway. Let's be real.
You think they would have beat Project Aversio?
Yeah, if
Well,
both
Regnant-
of the fives were playing without roster troubles and we're all playing to the highest levels, I think better team.
Okay, that's interesting. I mean,
It is a bit interesting. But
yeah, we've also
besides that controversial opinion that's going to get me a slap from Dan Chan the next time I'm on a podcast with him. I mean,
Hopefully.
that's the thing. Geekcase haven't had that big test Nexus. And do you think that that's going to be a problem for them? Will they be out? Would you think Geekcase are going to be riding on this stereo hype Nexus? Or do you think they're just going to be like, oh, they're going to face a big team, they're going to get banged out?
I don't think they're gonna get banged down anyway. Like, I think they're gonna make a good case for themselves, but then again, it's a lot depending on who they're gonna face. I think they're gonna win maybe one match, and then if they place like one of the better teams, like we were talking about, B Pro, BP5, one of those teams, I think they might just fall over in that match.
Yeah, and I just think if you compare the quality of Geekcase to like B Pro and Budapest 5, I don't think it's close. I think Geekcase are a good team, but the overall quality and the foundational on the teams of B Pro and Budapest 5, I mean, if you've got B Pro, Victor is massive. Yet we can't underestimate his impact, even though he's only a stand-in. That is massive for the league. That is massive for the team. And then Budapest 5, the amazing level of play they showed against Genetech now, Red Bull in that best of 3, and the way that they've looked all season. I think that win that Strommys will provide it in chat. That game that he told me to watch that I never watched, the way they played amazingly and they won. He'll provide the team name in chat, but they won that game and looked amazing apparently. So I think if right now, if I'm off the top of my head, B Pro and Budapest 5, but also Famous 5 are my 3 favourites. Would you agree with that? Would you say they're the top 3 right now? B Pro, Budapest 5, and Famous 5.
Yeah, I personally would.
Ant's going for it. Nexus,
No,
you back
it's
in
fine.
it?
Yeah,
Matt's-
I think
Is it Matt or
that's
is it
quite
Ant?
realistic.
Yeah. Matt.
Finally, the man who was asked first.
I'm sorry. I didn't know if it said Matt or Ant. I was like, Matt. I'm like, okay.
Not
Not gonna
Matt
lie,
sounds-
Yeah, I didn't know which one he said, so I was just like, I'm just gonna see and my
Yeah.
name's called again.
There's nothing wrong with the Brummie accent, except when you go Matt and Ant. But I didn't really say. I said it a bit slurred, so I'll let you off. But Matt, top 3.
Top 3?
Like like where you think they'll finish, but who do you think they are? Like we were all saying, B Pro, Budapest 5, and Famous 5. Not in any order, but just sort of the 3 teams that look most likely to win it. Right? Would you agree with that?
Wait, can I actually change mine before Matt
Oh.
answers?
Go for it.
It's
Because
the-
Okay, so yeah, okay, I do agree with B Pro, BP5, but I think Skillmatics is up there.
They could still win this.
I'll tell you what.
They'll find a way to get
I
back
I
in.
actually have a guest to come on right now. I've just got Deck. I'm just gonna add him into just.
joins instantly. Hi, Fed. Just leaves.
I'm just gonna put a picture of like an agent on the screen to see if he likes it.
Oh, okay.
I'm not gonna force Matt into an uncomfortable position. I can say what I want, and I don't really care. No, I'm not gonna put Matt in an uncomfortable position because that'd be mean. But you know, Nexus is gonna put in Skillmatic. I think he's obviously joking. They don't actually in the tournament. So anyway, and it goes. Anyway, Matt, top 3.
I think. Oh, yeah. Sorry, we've got to remember Inspector Max. He's a very important person to this community.
Oh, yeah.
But no, I think the semi-finals onwards is going to be insane.
Oh yeah, I think this is gonna be the best playoff bracket. Like
Oh,
after the semi-final.
I think round of 16 there could be a few games where I'm a bit like, eh.
Yeah,
But quarterfinals, like that's where the shit starts.
yeah.
Like things are gonna get really good. And top 3, I'm gonna give you my top 4 because I can't. Top
You can't
3,
separate. Yeah.
Yeah, top 4 has to be B Pro, Team Red Bloods,
Yeah, Red Bloods
forgetting the
would
name,
be my
Budapest
4th as
5.
well.
and Famous 5.
Yeah, so we have the same top 4. I'd put Red Bloods as 4th. It's not really any specific rank order. I just think Budapest 5 they showed their levels ahead, and Famous 5 on a high. B Pro got Victor, so that places them above Red Bloods. And Nexus, would you? Because Matt's just changed the whole idea by adding the 4th. Would you make Red Bloods your 4th? And Nexus.
I really don't know. I really don't know. I mean, maybe, maybe not.
Oh, that's great.
Oh, what? What's
Someone
happened?
just muted his mic and
Alright.
this bit. Oh, he's back again. There we go.
Oh, hey.
Just carry on
I'm calling
anyway,
Matt
Nick,
now.
just-
Yeah. Oh, there we
Carry
go.
on. Technical difficulties. We're back.
I got to be Matt for a few seconds.
Sorry to put you off there, but
Nah,
please
don't
carry
worry
on.
about it.
So
I
who would you
don't-
say
I
they're
th-
for?
Maybe, but there are a good few teams in this tournament right now. Like Matt said, the semifinals onward is going to be extremely great.
Yeah.
So it's just, I don't know. Whatever team will be there will be fantastic, and we're going to see banger matchups. But I'm too uncertain on which team will be one of the best ones
Yeah.
or will be one of the top 4.
And do you think Red Bloods?
Yeah, I'd agree with Team Red Bloods with that.
Yeah.
Reglan, we haven't seen too much of, so they could come out and slap someone. Same with obviously Ecstasy
If,
doing
if they're not
too
slapping
bad.
themselves, yeah.
Revenge and Versio, I think, definitely competitors. As I said, we've seen them both do pretty well in other matches and stuff. So it depends on the day, considering they've been beating random teams at random points. So and Versio gave Famous Five a pretty good fight, who then went on to beat BP5, didn't they? So I think those two are definitely competitors as well.
Yeah, I'd agree with you. And I just think it's just so nice to say that we've got like 4 or 5 teams that we could all list as saying these are really good. These are teams that could win it. I think this is going to be, as we said, a really competitive playoffs bracket. And it's just unfortunate we've got to get these 2-2 games out of the way, which are mostly boring. Just going to say it. Got to get those out of the way. But think about it, everyone. If you watch the 2-2 games and get those out of the way, we're going to get to a rewarding playoff bracket. And it's that sort of looking towards the future there, the playoffs. It's all to play for with those so many different teams. That's the point. The Lockdown Cup has changed the storylines. It's changed the narrative. So many different teams have a chance to win. So many great games are going to be happening in playoffs. But that is going to be where we draw this episode to a close. So we'd like to say thank you all very much for tuning in. Make sure to check the podcast out on YouTube. Thank you all for tuning in live on twitch.tv/ESN_GG. You can check out the Castles Lounge on Twitter as well as ESN_GG on Twitter. So keep an eye on the socials for our next episode next Monday, where hopefully much better than me, Swedish host will be back, not butchering it like I did today, and we'll be feeling better. So make sure to send in submissions of goodwill, of course, and we'll see you all next week for another great podcast. Thank you all very much.